The email hit my inbox at 9:13 a.m., 5 words that flipped my entire life upside down. We regret to inform you. What came next changed me forever. If you've ever lost something you thought defined you, this story is for you. Stay till the end, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories that remind you you're not alone. I still remember the exact smell of my coffee that morning, burnt hazelnut and stale anxiety. It was a Tuesday, the kind that feels like a Monday dressed in disguise. The office was quiet, eerily quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't come from peace but from tension. I had been working at the same company for 6 years, climbing a ladder I thought led somewhere, only to realize later that it was leaning against the wrong wall. The pandemic had changed everything, but I thought I had made it through the storm. I survived the first wave of layoffs, the second, even the merger that swallowed half our department. So when the HR meeting invite popped into my inbox with the subject line, "Important organizational update," I didn't flinch, at first. I clicked it casually, thinking it was another routine briefing. But then I saw the attendees. My manager, HR director, and me. No one else. My stomach dropped like an elevator with its cables cut. I knew. I just didn't want to believe it yet. At 9:13 a.m., my screen flickered as the meeting began. My manager's face looked like she hadn't slept in days. HR smiled that sad, rehearsed corporate smile that says this hurts us too, but not really. The words came out in slow motion. Due to restructuring, budget cuts, difficult decision, your role has been impacted. I heard everything and nothing at the same time. My hands went cold, and the background noises around me, the typing, the faint hum of the air conditioner, the birds outside, blurred into one dull echo. I think I said, "I understand," at least twice, though I didn't understand anything at all. They told me I'd get 2 months severance, health coverage till the end of the quarter, and career transition support, whatever that meant. I thanked them, yes, thanked them, because that's what polite people do when they're being gently shoved off a cliff. Then I closed the laptop and just sat there, staring at my reflection on the black screen. The person looking back at me didn't seem real anymore. For the first few hours, I convinced myself it was fine. You needed a break anyway, I told myself. I cleaned the kitchen, did laundry, even went for a walk like it was just another work-from-home day. But every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was them calling back to say it was a mistake. They never did. The next morning, I woke up early out of habit, sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and then realized there was nowhere to log into. No morning meeting. No Slack pings, no purpose. Just silence. That was the moment it hit me, not just that I lost a job, but that I lost an identity. Work had become my mirror. Without it, I didn't know who I was anymore. The first week was denial. I kept checking my email, scrolling through job sites but never actually applying. I kept telling myself, I'll rest a bit, then start. But resting turned into procrastination, and procrastination turned into panic. My savings were enough for maybe 4 months if I was careful. Rent, groceries, student loans, it all started adding up in my head like falling dominoes. Every ad I saw online seemed to mock me. Grow your career with us. We're hiring passionate professionals. Each one felt like salt in a wound. Nights became longer. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the hundreds of small choices that led me here. Should I have switched departments? Should I have spoken up more in meetings? Should I have seen it coming? Then came the anger. Not explosive rage, but a slow burning resentment that lived under my skin. I hated the company for making me a number on a spreadsheet. I hated myself for giving them so much of my time, my weekends, my mental health. I even hated my colleagues who still had jobs, even though deep down, I knew it wasn't their fault. It was survival, that's all. One night, I saw a LinkedIn post from a coworker celebrating her promotion after a tough year. I wanted to be happy for her, but all I felt was envy and shame. I closed the app, threw my phone on the bed, and just stared at the wall for hours. But life, as cruel as it is, keeps moving. Bills don't wait for you to feel okay. So I started applying, slowly at first, then obsessively. I rewrote my resume 15 times, practiced interview answers, even joined online webinars about rebranding your professional image. I pretended to be confident in cover letters while secretly doubting if I was worth hiring. Every rejection email felt like a tiny funeral for the person I used to be. Some didn't even bother replying. Ghosted by companies the same way people get ghosted in relationships. And that's what it felt like, a breakup. Except this time, I didn't even get closure. A month passed, then two. My savings were thinning, and the anxiety was thick enough to taste. I started selling old stuff online, gadgets, clothes, even a few collectibles I once swore I'd never part with. I told myself it was decluttering, but really, it was survival. My parents called often, asking if I was okay, if I needed help. I lied every time. I'm fine, just figuring things out. Because the truth was, I didn't want them to hear the disappointment in my voice. I didn't want to be someone's burden. There's a kind of loneliness that comes with pretending you're okay when you're not. It's exhausting. Then one morning, something shifted. I woke up, made coffee, and sat by the window. The sun was rising, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel anger or fear. I just felt empty, but in a way that made space for something new. Maybe losing the job wasn't punishment. Maybe it was permission. Permission to finally ask myself what I actually wanted from life. Not what was expected. Not what looked impressive on LinkedIn. But what made me feel alive. I started writing again. Something I hadn't done since college. Small journal entries at first, then essays, then short stories. I poured every ounce of confusion, fear, and hope into those words. And slowly, I began to recognize myself again, not as an employee, but as a human being with dreams that didn't fit into a job title. By the third month, I applied to fewer corporate jobs and more freelance projects. The first gig paid peanuts, but I didn't care. It was mine, my work, my pace, my creativity. Then I landed another, slightly bigger one. It wasn't stability, but it was momentum. I realized I had been chasing security so long that I'd forgotten the thrill of building something from scratch. The fear didn't vanish, but it transformed into drive. I started learning new skills, watching tutorials, even reaching out to old contacts not for job favors but for advice. People surprised me. Some offered collaboration, others encouragement. Turns out, vulnerability can open doors that pride keeps shut. One day, I got a message from a former coworker. "Hey, our team is hiring again. Want me to refer you?" For a moment, my old instincts kicked in. Say yes, get back in, play it safe. But something in me hesitated. I looked around my tiny workspace, the secondhand desk, the messy notes, the half-finished projects, and realized I didn't want to go back. Not to that version of me who measured worth by job titles and company badges. So I politely declined. "Thanks," I said, "but I'm working on something of my own now." It felt strange saying it out loud, but also powerful. Like reclaiming a piece of myself I didn't know I'd lost. As months passed, I built a small network of clients. It wasn't glamorous. Some weeks were good, others uncertain. But each day, I felt more in control of my story. I learned that getting laid off wasn't the end, it was the beginning of honesty. The kind of honesty that asks, what do I actually want? Not, what should I want to seem successful? I also learned empathy, for others going through the same silent battles. I started sharing my experiences online, not as advice, but as raw truth. And the messages poured in. Strangers saying, "Thank you, I thought I was alone." That's when I realized, maybe my purpose wasn't climbing corporate ladders. Maybe it was building bridges made of words. 1 year later, I walked past my old office building. Different people, same glass walls. I watched them rush in with coffee cups and backpacks, faces lit by the same screens that once drained me. For a moment, nostalgia tugged at me. Then I smiled, because I wasn't bitter anymore. I was free. Losing my job forced me to find my life. And if I had to go through it again to end up here, I would. The layoff wasn't a failure, it was a redirection. So, if you're reading this and you've just been laid off, listen to me, breathe. It's okay to fall apart. It's okay to be scared. But don't mistake an ending for extinction. Sometimes the ground needs to crumble so you can see the horizon. The job you lost doesn't define you, the strength you find afterward does. Maybe this is your moment to rediscover who you are beyond the paycheck, beyond the title, beyond the noise. Maybe life isn't pushing you down, it's pushing you forward. And one day, when you're on the other side of it, you'll look back and realize that being laid off wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to you, it was the thing that finally set you free. Because losing your job doesn't mean losing your worth. It just means the world is giving you a blank page, and daring you to write something better. If this story made you feel seen, if you've ever been knocked down and had to rebuild from nothing, don't scroll away. Hit that subscribe button right now, because your story matters, too. We share real voices, real struggles, and real comebacks, every single week. Your next chapter starts here.